Hello Top Teners, how are you doing today? Fantastically, I hope. I'm Rebecca Felgate, and by popular demand I am making a part 2 of Danny's The Top 10 Reasons Donald Trump Would Be a Horrible President. Don't shoot me. We have tried to make videos on both sides of the coin, looking at both presidential candidates. However, we felt there were a few things that were not covered in part 1. So let's jump right into this. In at number 10, he literally does not know how to handle women in power. Donald Trump is behind the times. He thinks it's okay to suggest women be grabbed by the Donald Trump is constantly derogatory to females, using language like honey and sweetheart to them, even in a business environment. Here are a few things Trump had to say about prominent women. On Olympic gold medalist Katrina Witt, he said, "She is wonderful looking while on the ice, but up close and personal, she could only be described as attractive if you like a woman with a bad complexion who is built like a linebacker." No mention of the gold medal though there. This is what he had to say about The View moderator Rosie O'Donnell. "If I were running The View, I'd fire Rosie. I would look right in that fat ugly face of hers and say, Rosie, you're fired." On Cambridge graduate and head of the Huffington Post Ariana Huffington, Trump said, "She is unattractive both inside and out." He then added, "I fully understand why her former husband left her for a man. He made a good decision." Obviously there is a certain amount of irony in the fact that he seems to judge women's abilities to do their jobs on their looks and their ability to make a marriage work. No comment. Building on from this, in at number 9, Trump gets personal. Trump is emotionally volatile, which is already a warning sign in a presidential candidate, who generally are required to act with decorum. When Trump does not like someone, he gets personal rather than critical. The president is someone to be respected and in some cases is a role model to American citizens. When someone says something you do not like, calling them fat or ugly is of little significance to the argument. Trump needs to be able to vocalize how his opponents are wrong without resorting to petty playground insults. Again, building on this, in at number 8, he won't be taken seriously internationally. Have you ever heard a country's head of state say Kim Kardashian has a fat? Of course not. Donald Trump is internationally known as a businessman with a dirty mouth, as well as for his stints on reality TV. 99.9% of the time, elected leaders in countries with a respected democracy will have decades of experience in politics behind them. It is quite possible that if Trump were to become president and his inexperience led him to difficulty, America would become an international laughingstock. In at number 7, he is a hypocrite. Trump has made his opinions on immigrants pretty clear. After all, he wants to build that wall. However, all 4 of his grandparents were born outside of the United States. His mother, Mary Trump, née McLeod, was Scottish. Okay, but aren't most of Americans immigrants? Yes, they are. Trump's wife Melania is from Slovenia, but of course now she is an American citizen. Melania says that she started working in the United States in 1996 on an H-1B visa, something that Trump has inferred he would abolish. Some reports have indeed emerged of Melania working illegally in 1995 before her visa was granted. At this point this is pure speculation, however if it is true, it would be pretty hypocritical. In at number 6, he wants to ban the internet. Donald Trump has literally said he wants to ban the internet from some people and would, quote, ask Bill Gates to close it up. Okay, I actually kind of understand where he was coming from a tiny bit with this one. What he was fundamentally saying was that extremists were using the internet to contact children and impressionable people and recruiting them for terror, amongst other things. I think that we would all agree that this is not okay. That said, banning the internet from some kids and getting Bill Gates to close it up isn't going to eradicate extremists. He also made some comment about areas of the world America is at war with that shouldn't be using our internet. I'm not actually sure what he means there. If Mr. Trump was trying to say the internet should be monitored for extremist activities, then I think many people would be quite understanding. However, that is not what he said. Perhaps also, many of these people, such as the 3.3 million American Muslims, wouldn't feel the need to talk to extremists if they were accepted in their own country. In at number 5, Donald Trump has been endorsed by the KKK. So let's have a look at the endorsement caliber in this presidential race. On the one hand, Hillary is endorsed by several tech giants, Wall Street, Vogue, Queen Beyonce, Meryl Streep, Katy Perry, Chloe Grace Moretz, Bryan Cranston, Ben Folds, Elizabeth Banks, Demi Lovato, Susan Sarandon, and of course Michelle and Barack Obama. Trump, on the other hand, is endorsed by Charlie Sheen, Tila Tequila, who also said she sympathizes with Hitler, Dennis Rodman, who's friends with dictator Kim Jong-un, and Kid Rock. Trump has also officially been endorsed by the Ku Klux Klan, a group his father was once linked to. Former President Ronald Reagan was indeed also supported by the Klan, but publicly denounced them and their support, something that Trump is so far refusing to do. In at number 4, he literally said he was going to ban Muslims from entering America. Trump has alienated 1.6 billion people in the world with his Muslim comments. He called Muslim refugees from war-torn countries a Trojan horse and a cancer from within. In 2015, he claimed all American Muslims know when fellow Muslims are plotting terror, which is mental. However, probably the worst comment made by the presidential hopeful came during a campaign appearance in South Carolina in December 2015 when he proposed, I quote, a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. I mean, how disenfranchised are the 3.3 million American-born Muslims are gonna feel if he becomes president? Would his stance on the faith not be more likely to radicalize them? Presidents work best when they can represent their people, not alienate them. In at number 3, he is against tightening gun laws. Americans take their Second Amendment right pretty seriously, despite the Constitution being drafted well over 200 years ago in 1791, when the population of the states was just 1% of what it is now. Donald Trump appeases Second Amendment supporters and their current right to bear arms. There are now 300 million guns in civil hands in America. There were 372 mass shootings in the US in 2015 alone, killing 475 people and wounding almost 2,000. Mass shootings simply do not happen on that scale in other Western countries. For example, there has not been one in Australia for 20 years since tougher gun laws were introduced. The last mass shooting in the United Kingdom happened 6 years ago and killed 12 people. Compare that one mass shooting in the UK in 6 years to the 372 in 1 year in America. Terror-related activity in the past 10 years in the States has claimed on average 31 people a year. How many people die from gun wounds in the States each year? Over 11,000. America arguably needs a president who will stop the violence. Mr. Trump, on the other hand, appeared to incite it in a pro-Second Amendment speech. He said Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although, the Second Amendment people, maybe there is. I don't know. Now, it isn't hard to read between the lines there. Nobody is at this point saying they will get rid of guns, only regulate them. The argument often goes that guns aren't the problem, the people with them are. In which case, why would America not want to regulate who is able to buy a gun? A lot of people who are pro-Second Amendment are also very respectful of American war heroes. Is Trump one of those people? Well, not if they had the misfortune to get captured. In at number 2, he insulted a war hero. At the Family Leadership Summit in Iowa in July 2015, Donald Trump had this to say about Arizona Senator and former prisoner of war John McCain. He's not a war hero, he was a war hero because he was captured. I like people who weren't captured. This is very offensive to people who have fought for their country. McCain spent 5 years as a prisoner of war and stayed strong for his country. Okay, so ultimately, people have their differing opinions, and to some degree that is acceptable, but what would really make him a terrible leader? In at number 1, he is not a gracious loser. It is completely fair to say that Donald Trump isn't a gracious loser. He launched into an absolute Twitter tirade when The Apprentice was not nominated for an Emmy in 2012. He called the system dishonest and unfair. He was still tweeting about the issue 2 years later. Amongst many other examples, the most damning is suggesting that the election itself will be rigged. If Trump was sore about the Emmys for years, imagine how sore he will be if he doesn't win the election. Sure, he may be a bad loser, but why does that matter for a president? Because, like everyone, presidents need to know when they are wrong to save them from catastrophe. America pulled out of Vietnam when they had to. It wasn't easy, but President Nixon knew it had to be stopped to prevent further loss of life. If he were a stubborn man like Trump, who knows how far it would have been taken and how many lives would have been lost. Okay, so that was the top 10 reasons why Donald Trump would be a horrible president part 2. Of course, some of you won't agree, and that is okay. In your heart of hearts, if you think Trump will be a better leader for the great country of the United States of America and a role model for the next generation of American citizens, then you know what to do. If, however, you think that Hillary might be a better president for the country, then cast your vote. The most important thing to do if you're an American citizen is to vote. I've been Rebecca Felgate, this has been Most Amazing Top 10. Say whatever you like about the election, but America is on the cusp of change, and I do hope that the right decision is made. If you guys like this video, make sure you give it a good thumbs up, share it with a friend, and of course subscribe to Most Amazing Top 10, and I will see you next time.